So if I had a crystal ball, I can tell you right now that my 3-part series on our lithium install would in fact have been a 4-part series. Because I'm telling you, there's a lot of moving parts when you decide to have a renovation done like this to properly put in lithium batteries in your motorhome. So when I signed on the dotted line at National Indoor to have this done, I guess I had no idea on how much I would be relying on Matt, Justin, and Jim to deliver what I wanted. You know, these pictures that are scrolling on the screen right now are screenshots that I took from IRV2, which is the repository of knowledge for all things RV. And I said, hey, this is kind of what I want you guys to do. And in this video, you're going to see that this is exactly what I got here. And we'll go over in detail some of the trials and tribulations to get to this point. But when I, after the fact, called up Matt and I said, hey Matt, how much of a road map in your mind did you have when you took this project on? And he said none. He said, I just built it logically as we went along the way. Well, take a look at this. This is in fact what the 2024 Newmar Dutch Star looks like when you order lithium. And this is in fact what the 2024 Lithionics setup looks like in the London Air. So why don't you come along with us on this episode and we'll show you all the different steps and the different difficulties we had along the way. So every project is got to have a start point, and I decided that the first thing that I wanted Matt to do was correct an issue where I had my power watchdog at the pedestal and my emergency power off watchdog hardwired inside my rig. I had unintentionally reversed the line 1 and line 2 wires between those two units, so line 1 was always line 2 on one of the units and line 2 was line 1 on the other, and it was confusing. So I took advantage of Matt to take care of that for me, and we were back in business and ready to start the real project. For a while this bay looked roomy, but not anymore. This is where the project rubber started to hit the road here, because after we were opening all the Christmas presents here, and you know, every box seemed to be $1,000, now this stuff had to be arranged in a logical order. And that's when you're happy you have someone working on it that understands why things should be in certain places. If I played all the footage I had here of Matt, you would see many times where he would move this equipment around and he would not attach it. But then after he would think about how wiring is going to go from one unit to the next, he might end up switching them around. And I am certain that looking at what we had to wire, where the wires were coming from and where they were going to, that I in fact ended up with the best arrangement that I needed to have. I'm pretty sure the only one that was nervous on this job was me, because here you see Matt muscling and cutting and attaching and moving all these big cables around, and he's not the least bit worried about what he's doing. And here I am taking a video of him, and I'm just worried about Matt hitting his head on something sharp. So I just heard some ruckus down in the basement. Let's check out to see what happened. Oh yeah, here's the old inverter. "10 years old, and that was up in that hole there. Let's take a quick progress fly through while Matt is gone. Got all sorts of stuff on the ground. It didn't take long to get to this point in the project here, and if you stay to the end of the video, you'll see that some of the equipment that you see bolted to the wall was actually later moved, or we actually decided not to use some of it. And that was the whole point of this project, because we were remodeling and redoing the entire battery inverter system on an older coach. We have a 2014 Newmar Dutch Star, and we wanted to do it right, not fast. What typically slowed our project down is that we spanned the Christmas and New Year's holiday weekend, and that was understandable. So I'm on my way back to the rig, and I thought I would capture how busy this place is and all of the different equipment they're working on. Look at this. That is how it looks when you're having your towing equipment done by National Indoor. They're able to put the rig up in the air and really do a good job, not just laying on the ground trying to put the bracketry in. They can work on it comfortably and do it right. There's a lot of handy do-it-yourselfers out there that would put the towing equipment and the lighting in themselves on their tow vehicle, but you can see National Indoor is ripping into this thing and doing it for this customer. I had mine installed back in the day, putting in the lighting. Typically you run separate wiring back there so it doesn't interfere with the electronics on a rig. You can see that he's hooking up the electrical for the braking system. This almost looks like some type of a testing box or something. This was up on this rack all day today while they were working, putting on the sockets. And I had caught the underside front bottom plastic bumper pieces taken out. And you know, if you're going to do a good job to make sure everything is tight, straight, and installed securely, this is the way to do it, rather than laying on your driveway or paying some place that really doesn't have the equipment to spend the time to do it right. Here they're working on the Class B, but the Class A's in the background here. Let's check up on Matthew to see how he's doing. I want you to pay attention on how many bay doors are open, which means he's digging around in them. And trust me, there's the same number of doors just about open on the other side. Keep that in mind when you're thinking about the proverbial drop-in project everybody says putting lithium is. I was a little amazed how this project progresses, how many different cabinets and systems we have to communicate with. And Matt was back here looking at certain things that he had to worry about, and I don't know if he was looking in the deaf area here to see if he had any access. But we were in this cabinet for a while looking at the automatic generator start and the air conditioning temperature control relays. This one's always been open for me to look through, but that's where the inverter came out from. And then there's always the standard cabinets that have been open on this side that Matt is working through. You can see that. All right, what do we got there?
All right, so up here, this is where the fuses are going to be. This 100 amps is going to be for the house. This one right here is going to be for the DC-DC charger. This one here is going to be for the solar charger, and this one that goes right here is going to be for the inverter.
Oh, okay.
So, your panel here, I'll show you more when it's all the way installed. But it's either going to be red or green. Green means we're good. Red means the fuse is blown.
Okay.
So.
All right. So when I see what those fuses are, I will photograph them and get a few of them, realizing that if you blow more than one or two of them, something's goofy.
Yeah, something's going on.
Yeah, something's going on. Sure, I'm glad Matt isn't camera shy, because I decided to pull out our fancy YouTube lighting here and light up the job a little bit better when we do a time lapse of it. I want you to take a look at what he's fixing to do. Inside this molding here is 1 billion wires, and we're actually going to add, I don't know, about 6 or 8 more. And unfortunately, he's got to get past this threshold here, and there's no door or anything to be able to do it. So it almost looks like this top of the dashboard, he's going to pop off. I say pop like it's easy. Doesn't look easy to me. I kind of don't even want to watch. Yikes. So Matt's running this pile of cables here, I see, through a little spot that he found to sneak the wires through. Well, Matt was able to find a different avenue for these cables to come through. You can see that they came through the left driver's pillar. There they are. And oh yeah, there's our protang. So for my installation, I think this is where the largest amount of labor and time came in. And you know, when you spend this much money on a rig, you certainly don't want wires hanging out and holes drilled in all sorts of odd places. So I really appreciated when Matt and Justin always routed the wires correctly and where they should be. For instance, look at this entryway plastic molding that they took out of the way, and that was just so that they could put this single little button in there that was like the salesman switch for the batteries that we're all used to, but that was in fact the battery button that was just for the Lithionics battery. I love this spot here where it shows Matt doing a reverse plank with giant abdominal muscles, being able to be in a position that I haven't been able to be in since I was 45 years old. Here's another comfy shot of Matt putting the wiring in, zip tying it, and covering it with a plastic protection for the wires. Today's adventure is all of a sudden affecting this side. There's a control in here that Matt is working on. Don't know what it is. I'm going to have to find out about it. Up above is the Magnum automatic generator start, which is up there. So probably some wires down here that they got to grab, do something with. There's some stuff back there. Stuff, that's what we call it when you hire a professional to do it. That's all you got to know, is that it's stuff.
It tells you A, B, C, D, all the way to J, the different modes it can do.
Yeah.
And then the timer is going to be up here. So your main timer is going to be, that's going to be 1 second. That's going to be 10 seconds, 1 minute, 10 minute, all the way up to, this one goes up to 1 day.
Okay.
And then from there, the percentage is the percentage of what we put it on.
Okay.
All right, so if we put it on 1 minute and go to 50%, that's going to be 30 seconds.
Okay.
So right now your settings are going to be on B, where it's going to be normally closed, and when it can be open, and then when it gets power through, it's going to close it and then send it through here.
Are both of the relays set to B?
Yes.
Okay, so put the light on there again. So what I'm thinking that you just said is on this control here, which is my start control. This is my stop control. On my start control, the top dial there sets the incremental time, the 1 second to 10 seconds, you know, the whole day or whatever. Then the middle control is a percentage of the top buttons, or the top dial setting. And then the last dial on the bottom was the function, and I'm set at function B for both of them.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so I saw a fuse laying around somewhere, like a glass fuse for an automobile. What was that
so
from?
you got a couple fuses set up. This is going to be a 3-amp fuse right here for the servo. Now, this is going to be for the automatic just start relay.
Oh,
that we're going down there. So
okay.
we're
so
talking about that. Yeah, this is a 3-amp fuse right here. So
so the fuse for those little relays is way up here?
yes,
Okay.
yeah, because it has to go through the board right there. The servo.
Okay.
Right. We got those fuses. Then you got the fuse here for the heaters for the batteries, but every heater has its own breaker as well. So that's just in case something damages right here. So protect that wire there. And that's going to be all the fuses you have to worry about on that. I lied to you. So this right here is going to be, I believe, a 10-amp fuse, and that is actually going to the servo itself. There's a little inline fuse up in here.
Okay, so there's a 10-amp inline fuse for the servo up there.
Yep.
There's the 3-amp inline fuse
for the relay.
For the relay.
For the auto gen start.
Okay.
Then you got the 40-amp fuse for your heating elements, which if this blows, you got a short somewhere right here. So you'll be able to find that, see that really.
So you can tell by the happy sounding music that this was one of those typical days that we thought we were getting close. But in fact, it was another setback. These plugs that I'm showing you are an excellent idea that Lithionics has that allows you to disconnect the internal heaters in the battery so that it isn't internally providing the power to heat itself. You can in fact unplug these connectors and plug it into a battery charger that you plug into a 110 outlet in your storage facility. Unfortunately, they were very difficult to determine what they were. I probably ordered 5 or 6 different Delphi plugs until I finally got the correct one. Lithionics should supply these to the people that they sell their batteries to. So we installed this gadget originally, thinking that that was going to do the trick for charging my batteries from the alternator and keeping the alternator from cooking itself, because these batteries are capable of taking anything you can throw at it. But we've had a little setback, and that's why we installed that Libyum 225. So we had this area together a few days ago. We had a little bit of a backtracking. We had to install this BIM, this LIBIM, Lithium Battery Interrupt Manager, or something like that it's called. We're trying to protect the alternator, which is back here in the engine compartment, from overheating when it's trying to charge the lithium batteries. Lithium batteries have the ability to take just about anything you can throw at it, and most installations just put this BIM in here to basically turn the alternator on and off at kind of preset times to keep the heat and cooking factor down. So from day one, I had chose not to use the Libyum, and a lot of people use them successfully. I just wanted the proverbial DC to DC charger set up on our rig and more consistently be able to control the charge that was going to the battery. But after about a week of screwing around back and forth, because of a lot of complications on my older Newmar and the precision circuits setup that was in it, I could not make the DC to DC charger setup work, and this precision circuit LiBEM here was the solution that I had to use, and I did not want to use it. So one night, late at night, as the clock is ticking and I'm thinking we might not make the Tampa RV show, while trolling the Lithionics website on all of the gadgetry and wizardry that goes on with this awesome space shuttle setup here, I noticed a little button down in the bottom for accessories. Now, when I clicked on accessories, I saw this automatic combiner relay ACR. And I thought, what the heck is that? And I started reading about this thing, and you can see right away from the picture that it shows one alternator, and the alternator is shared between a 12-volt chassis battery, which is implied that it's lead acid, and the house battery that's shown, which is implied that it's lithium because it in fact is a Lithionics battery. And I started looking at this thing and thinking, you know what? This might be more applicable to what I want because it's got some logic in there, and it's got this industrial potted relay that can be going on and off all day long, and I don't have to worry about it cooking up anything. Well, then I read up on this thing and it looked even more like it was what I needed. But then when I went to the Lithionics battery page here, I had a much more detailed write-up to look at, and the same picture that had prompted my interest in the first place. And here was the real corker, that it had the logic table in which this particular gadget makes its decision on what it's going to do and which battery it's going to service. Now, because I'm not the smartest electrical guy around, although I was immediately infatuated by this moving app here that shows you, by virtue of these fan belts moving the minute you hit the key, and if this relay goes off here and it decides to charge the house battery with the alternator, or this relay opens here and you're charging the chassis batteries, it tells you down here what is happening. So I immediately was thinking this is going to be what I needed. Now, when you look at this, it shows you that it comes set up default in the case 1 setup. There's a case 2 setup and a case 3 setup. Here's the ACR wiring diagram for the case 1 classic chassis house bridge, and that's what mine is. And I'm going to stop scrolling here. No sense to mix anybody up, but there's a couple of other cases, like if you have 2 alternators or whatever. But this is the diagram for wiring that we used. I immediately went out and showed this to Matt, and I said, hey Matt, you're a lot smarter than me. Is this the logic that we need to make the right decisions for us so that we don't have the situation that we have right now where, sitting in one position, my chassis batteries would not be serviced with a trickle charger and would not retain their charge? I was ready to go down the road, ready to go to Tampa. Everything was done. Everything was buttoned up. But this, in fact, was what was holding us up. Okay, so now picture this. It's about 7 p.m. on Saturday evening, and I'm convinced that I need this gadget from Lithionics, but I've got to find who sells it. So I went home. I'm in the basement at Bob and Joy's, and I go to the Lithionics battery site and I look where to buy. Now, of course, I could have got it directly from Lithionics in Clearwater, but quite honestly, I didn't get a whole lot of love from them throughout the whole project because I'm not a dealer and I'm not a rep, and I'm thinking that they discourage selling directly to consumers. So it didn't take me more than a couple weeks to figure that out because I'm pretty fast at the switch. And so I started going systematically right down the road here to each one of these companies and each one of these websites. And the longer I worked on it, and as the clock is ticking away, I'm not finding anybody that's even remotely going to be open. Many of these websites hardly talk at all about any Lithionics products. And just about the time that I totally lost faith that I was going to be able to order something online on Saturday and maybe get a jump on it being delivered maybe by Tuesday, the very last place in the list is this GetLithium.com company, which is Pinnacle Innovations. So I click on this website and I immediately recognized it because when I was doing a lot of studying on lithium batteries, this thing is crazy stocked full of every single thing you want to know about Lithionics. And at the time when I was looking at it, I did not understand how useful this site truly was, because as you would touch and see all of the different things that had hyperlinks on this page here, I discovered after a while that as you're reading down the page, the very next thing you really should educate yourself about, this company, in fact, had the link right next to where it should be. Now, before I leave this page, I want to show you, this is the battery that we ended up putting in. We put 3 of them in. We put the -UL approved version in, and so I don't know exactly how it's different. But if you want to look at our battery, ours is very similar to this one. Well, when I went back up to the top of the page, under the battery management link, that's where I was able to scroll down and find the thing that I needed, which was this thing. And I saw that it was $500 and it was exactly what I had shown you previously in this video. Now I'm thinking, where are they really, and how can I get a hold of them? Okay, contact us. And I started to see Canadian. Oh boy, this is going to be fun, Then I've got an email here and some phone numbers, and lo and behold, I read this and it says we are normally available 7 days a week from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. and that's Pacific time. And remember, I'm sitting in a chair in a basement at Bob and Joy's on Saturday evening, but it's Eastern time. So I'm thinking I am good to go. Well, the short version of the story is I contacted David at this number and email, and inside of an hour or so, I had bought the contraption that I needed, and it was going to be shipped next day air FedEx to me, and I would be back in business and had once again a chance to get to the Tampa RV show. Let's tune in with the rest of the video and see if we actually made it.
Why are you sitting in the dark, Mark?
Well, this is the last component that needs to be last component that needs to be put in, and we should be on our way. But this is the glory of being a YouTuber. In between repairs, you still got to work, you still got to produce, and you can't wait until you're all fixed up, because guess what? That's the time we're supposed to have fun. We're packing up inside.
What do you mean? We're finally packing up? We're moving out?
You know, I gotta say that I kind of don't want to move now.
Oh, don't say that.
I kind of like this.
Yeah, right. You like chaos and mess.
Yeah.
We're moving.
You're moving. All right, if my memory serves me correct, we got in here December 11th. And we had a lot of different things done, not just the lithium, but nonetheless, it still was a long time. It's about 6:40 on Wednesday, and if we can get out of here, our goal is to get to the Tampa RV show. I suppose the Chan man could have moved it, but kind of forgot how to drive it. I'm counting on Sue to help me with it. So here's where we were. Goodbye, Matt. In the beginning of this video, I talked about that this 3-part series should have actually been 4 parts. And in the 4th part, when I finally produce it, I'll talk in ballpark terms about our costs and the decision-making process we undertook to decide on the Lithionics brand lithium batteries and Victron equipment. Throughout all the repair work that we had at National Indoor, Sue and I were blessed to have as friends Bob and Joy that allowed us to stay at their house off and on all of the different iterations of things that we had done. And this includes actually when they were on vacation and they trusted us enough with the keys. I can't tell you how thrilled we were to see our home backing out here so that we could get back to normal and our regular routine. Keep in mind that we still had a few hurdles ahead of us because what we had to do is test the solar system to make sure everything was okay and that we could be plugged in and unplug and replug and do all the normal things that you do when you skip from campground to campground. Now, what we did the next morning, we immediately discovered that the solar system was in fact not working. And Matt and Justin immediately came out with VU meters in hands and screwdrivers, and after a few hours we discovered what was not correct, and they dialed it in, and we spent the rest of the day seeing that the solar system did in fact work and was doing the job. We would like to invite you to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. The YouTube algorithm recognizes the relevance of channels only when folks actually subscribe to them. It's free, and it's especially good with coffee in the morning. So until we get to meet you on the road or in a campground someday, we invite you to join us every Sunday morning for another episode of Our Journey in Myles.